a regularly scheduled meeting of the Jenks City Council. My name is Corey Box. I will be the chair for this evening. Today is Tuesday, November 7th of 2023, and the time is about 3 after 6. Mr. Macy, can you please verify our attendance, sir?
Emmons. Here. OJ.
Here.
Murray. Here. Brown. Here. Klein. Present. Short. Mayor Box.
Here, and for tonight's invocation, we welcome back Reverend Dr. Rebecca Weston from St. James Presbyterian. Good evening, ma'am. How are you? Take the opportunity to tell us a little bit about your church, what's going on in your church community, and then please lead us in prayer.
St. James is a Presbyterian church in the Reformed tradition, and we are digging back into our roots. We had a Reformation Sunday service 2 weeks ago. We brought the bagpiper in. We're talking about our confessions. It's been a fun season going back to that heritage, and looking forward to getting to know our traditions for the holiday season. It's my first Thanksgiving, first Christmas with this congregation, so I'm looking forward to seeing what matters to them as we go forward.
Did you have your doctorate last time you were here?
No, I defended last month.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You are officially the holiest and smartest person in the room.
Well, let's give all glory to God, and would you join me in prayer?
Yes.
Heavenly Father, we thank you during this month of November as our nation focuses on gratitude, that we might be a people who humble ourselves before you and are grateful for those who are in service to others. We thank you especially for those who keep our country safe at home and abroad. We thank you for civil servants everywhere, from animal control to the police to fire to those who work in this building in governance. May you give them the wisdom of Solomon, the heart of David, and the faith of a child as they seek to do good for our community, for our neighbors, and for the least of these among us. Bless us, keep us, and protect us. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. And please remain standing, if you would, as we participate in our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you very much. Moving on, we have our Animal Welfare Spotlight. Guess what, Mr. Reed? There are a ton of young people here tonight that are impressionable. We can manipulate them easier than they think, and one of them is bound to love this dog. Do your thing.
All of them. Thank you, Mayor, Council, Youth City Council. I'd like to introduce Kita. Kita is one of our current guests at the animal shelter. She and her companion Titan were found in Jenks. They had microchips that checked back to a person that was unable to reclaim them due to their current housing situation. So they are looking for new homes. Kita is spayed and current on all her vaccinations, and has a microchip that can be reassigned to a new owner. Our adoption fees are still being waived at this time. And so if anybody is interested in meeting Kita or any of her adoptable friends, as always, they can call us at 918-299-6311 or email animalcontrol@jenksok.org.
Mm-hmm. All right, go find a sophomore or somebody over there to take that dog. Somebody's got a couple years left in town. Ah, there you go. She has no idea what she just did. Thank you, Mr. Reed. Thank you for your service, sir. All right, we're moving on. Youth City Council. Who's taking the lead on this? Mrs. Butterfield, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. We have a great group with us tonight. A couple months ago, I had 3 students from Jenks High School call City Hall and ask how can they start a youth city council. So with the help of Mr. Macy and these amazing students, we met several times, kind of came up with some ideas, some structure, and they've taken it and run with it. So today was their first meeting. They're going to come up and talk a little bit about it, the 3 seniors that started this whole initiative. So Chris, there you are, Chris, Josh, and Sarah. Ask them any questions they'd like or you'd like, and take it away.
Well, good evening. Lucky for you, I don't have a reputation of having fun with people that come to the podium, so no, that's not true at all. Why don't we start off and have each of you introduce yourselves to us and to the city of Jenks, and tell us what your goals and hopes are for this, and then appreciate you being here. Ladies first.
Thank you. Good evening, council. My name is Sarah Moreno, and I'm a senior at Jenks High School.
Christopher Chong, also a senior at Jenks High School. I think one of the driving elements that brought me to really want to take initiative in this program is the lack of conviction and I guess a general apathy in our current grades. Just being someone of my age, I see that the general knowledge about city level affairs is very little.
Yeah, and sir, what was your name again?
Christopher Chong.
Where do you think you're going to be in what is it, November? What are you going to be doing next year?
Next year?
Yeah, you got plans?
Plans?
Yeah, where are you going to be next year? You're not going to be a
Next year.
senior. So.
Yeah, I'll go college.
Where are you going? You got an idea?
I think I'm interested in Notre Dame and Rice.
Oh,
as
so
well.
you are one of the smartest people in the room. Wow, good grief. All right, that's amazing. Thank you, sir. Next.
My name is Joshua Rao. I'm a senior at Jenks High School. I guess the idea that I kind of wanted to get into is, just giving young people an opportunity to share their interests and, their concerns and really understand what, I guess, the local government's actually about and the government in general. Because, like he was saying, there is a general apathy.
Yeah. What do you think? What about you? Where are you going to be in next year? You got any plans?
Well, I don't know if I want to say this to everyone, but
You don't have to.
all right.
But. but.
You don't have to, but we're very curious.
But.
All right, well, if I don't get into the academy,
Which one?
Air Force Academy.
Do you have is your senator? Do you have a nomination from your senator?
I had my interviews last week.
Okay. Do you have Kevin Hearn's nomination?
I'm not sure.
Langford, your
I
mayor.
applied to all 3.
You need mine. It'll help.
Okay.
You're
Yeah.
not a senator?
I know, but I tried to get into the Air Force Academy, and they feel bad about saying no to me, so they're going to cut him some slack.
They said no.
That's how it works.
They said no.
I didn't make it.
Where'd you go?
I didn't go to any academy. I didn't make it into one of them.
Did you go to college?
Yes, but not the one I wanted to. Yeah, but get way ahead of that. We did a nomination for a senior Congressman Hearn and I think Senator Langford and Senator Mullen. And it's a long process, but even if you get a no the first time, there's always a second opportunity. But I would be happy to write that. I got to know you first. So you got to answer tough questions like the one you almost dodged a minute ago. All right? All right.
I just didn't want to be on the record if I didn't get in. But
Oh, yeah. You want to work for Space Force? You want to be a cyber guy, pilot?
I want to be a pilot.
You want to be a pilot? Sooner or later, the pilots are going to, you know what they're doing now.
Yeah.
Pilots are sitting in a trailer at Fort Meade, Maryland, flying a drone in Iraq, pushing a button. It's not very different than what you can do right now on your PlayStation 5,
My PlayStation 5.
if you have one.
I do not have one.
Okay, well, practice.
All
It'd
right, I'll
help.
get a PlayStation 5 so I can do that.
All right. Thank you for having fun with us. What about you, Sarah?
Thank you for first allowing us to be here.
This is your house.
But what I personally wanted to see out of this program is just kind of create a bridge for youth to be able to be involved in both their local government and their community. Because I think just the general consensus is everyone in my grade is like, oh, I want to leave. And so we don't really want that. And so I think that if people can see and have, know what their government is doing for them and also be able to participate in what their government is doing and kind of be able to put forth their ideas and kind of be the change that they want to see. We just kind of wanted to open up that opportunity for individuals at Jenks.
Amazing. What about you? What do you think you're going to do next year? Unless
I'm
it's top secret.
I'm looking into Duke University and University of Washington in Seattle.
Really? What is it about Duke?
They have this amazing marine lab, and so I scuba dive, and so that's something that I'm really passionate about, and I'm really passionate about environmental advocacy, and they're one of the top schools for that. So.
I have an opportunity for you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much.
You certified diver?
Yes, sir.
And you like to volunteer your time?
I love to volunteer my time.
You want to dive in the tank at the aquarium? Scrub the walls?
I'm actually
I'll
so
do it with
excited
you.
about doing that.
I'll do it with you.
I have to be 18 though. I'm not 18 though yet. I looked like
You have to be
2 years
18 to
ago.
dive with a turtle? Why?
I
Liability?
guess it's like
Oh, the lawyers, I forgot. There's always some reason we can't get
What?
you in. There's always some reason we can't have fun.
So when do
Well-
you turn 18?
February 15th.
Oh, so that's
Oh,
not
so you got
bad.
plenty of time. Well, in the meantime, there's a lot of jellyfish over there. They need to be flipped over every hour.
That's true.
Isn't that true, Craig?
That's
I
very
heard
true.
they're like growing, not growing, but
You need to meet Kenny Alexopoulos. He's the man
He's
at the aquarium. He's a marine biologist. He's extremely passionate about what he does. He's got a personality despite being a scientist. He's a lot of fun. We need to get,
Dr. Money.
I'm interviewing Dr. Money I'm on the Jenks Trojan Torch, which is our school newspaper.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually going to interview her for my next story.
That'll be a great interview.
so let's try to get you a behind-the-scenes tour with Kenny and Dr. Money. I'll arrange it for you.
Thank you so much.
You know how to find me?
Yes, sir.
Google it. Just call my number. I always give out my
Everybody
number.
knows his number, just, ask your
I will
neighbor.
answer your call. If I don't, leave me a voicemail. We'll get you and Kenny, and you can go feed a shark. And when you're 18,
You
well,
can
I got to be
clean
honest
the
with you.
shark
I've been
tank.
begging to get in that bull shark tank for 4 years, and they keep finding an excuse not to. But, you're going to Duke, and I wasn't. So you probably have a better inside track to get things done than I would ever would, so. But
Thank you
anyway.
so much.
All right, so I'm going to put you through the firing squad. This is Rodney
Awesome.
Klein. He's a famous coach and an educator. And we're going to start off with the questions right over here. Even looks like a coach.
I don't even know if I have a question. I'm just very excited to see you guys taking this step in the community. This is awesome to get students engaged. And I know a few over at the middle school who have that fire, but there's not many. And what you're doing is a tremendous step and getting not just our city, but getting a lot of people that may not be tuned into things on track. And it's really great to see that team effort coming forward. So I just want to brag on you guys. I think it's awesome.
Thank you so much.
This is our friend Counselor Craig Murray. He's a retired police officer from Tulsa. Spent many, many years driving around in a pink police car. That's what he's famous for. And his public service. It was the pink one, right?
Yeah, it was. I'm kind of like with Councilor Rodney, that don't really have a question for you, but I'm very excited to see, although there was a larger group across the hall, and I know that we probably would have fit you in here, but just counting, over 50% that came in here are female, which I'm glad to see you guys want to be involved. As you can see, we have one on our council. We've had as many as two, but it's, male or female, just being involved in doing these things is just great things to do. And you're not going to make a lot of money with it because this doesn't get paid. Now, when you move into a senator or representative for the House, then that's a different story. But you got to start somewhere. And by coming and being involved and seeing the things that are going on or singing the national anthem all over the world, we know that you guys are passionate, and we're so happy for you for that.
Thank you so much.
That's Donna Ojay. She's the vice mayor of Jenks. We don't get anything done without her.
You're so full of it. I just have a couple of questions. Well, maybe one question's overlapping. It's the fact that where do you see that the gap is between where you are and where your city government is? I mean, what is your understanding of that?
So I think we were actually just kind of having a discussion about this earlier. One of the individuals in the council like didn't know the difference between a mayor and a governor, which honestly I didn't either a few years ago. And so I think there's just kind of like a general lack of knowledge of like our local government. If I don't think many of the youth in Jenks kind of know, like if they have a concern, who do they go to? They know the structure of the federal government because that's taught to us at school, but when it comes to local government, we just don't really know. And so I think that with hopefully the work that we do as the Youth City Council, we can kind of help bridge that gap.
And what are your aspirations as far as your education within the council at school, as far as what's your goals?
Goals, we kind of want to lead like youth advocacy. So we want to reach out to the youth at Jenks and ask them, what do you need? You know, what do you wish the city had? Both for you and for your family, your friends, and just kind of so that they know that their voice is being heard. And we also want to kind of offer them opportunities. I know, for example, Josh and Chris, they are really passionate about community service, and so they really want to create events that the community, including the youth, can participate in. So whether that be like cleanups or something with the homeless population or the shelter, kind of just opening up opportunities in general is kind of how we see that happening.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
That's Mr. Matt Emmons. He's currently the president of the Tulsa Home Builders Association. He's got a sophomore over there who's like 6'10".
6'3".
He's Mr. Jenks right here. Got any questions or comments for this group?
I commend you guys so much for doing this. This is awesome. If my son wasn't so involved in football and kind of dropped the ball, I'd have been sitting over there with you guys. So I have one question. How did you get your buddies to join?
Who?
Your friends. How did you join the group altogether? You three started it. You three wanted to do it. How did you get more council members?
And Sarah, you've been taking the brunt of this, so one skill you learn when you get older is you can just kind of take a step back and let the other guy take the hard questions.
Yeah, you guys want to go ahead and answer that one?
I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll take it. No, it's funny you asked that because we kind of really struggled, to be honest. We attempted social media. We didn't get a ton of traction there, but it was, I think it's useful to have the experience, especially moving forward, because we will probably have to utilize social media for our events or whatever we foresee coming. But we actually got a pretty funny circumstance where someone didn't even know if this was like a legit thing, because they asked if this was like a fraudulent kind of thing. But it was mainly through the school. Looking around our demographics, we have a huge majority, maybe all of us are Jenks High School students. So using the human resources like our teachers and just word of mouth really helped. We had flyers. We talked to, was it Mr. Labor or Mr. Fox?
Mr. Labor, he's the director of communications.
About getting us on the morning announcements and various other approaches, but to be honest, we didn't really see a huge influx of interest until like the week or maybe weekend of the application being due. That was a struggle, and that is something we'll have to create proclivities to, and I guess structure a greater efficacy to doing that next time around, which fortunately won't be around for that.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
For me, it was just peer pressure. I just told them.
Hey, man, I like you.
I mean, it kind of goes back to like her question about like what's different about us than our peers. I don't know. I think there's not really that big of a difference. I think there's a lot of people that are interested in being involved and helping people. I think everyone is, right? But I guess the answer that I thought of was just polarization leads to apathy, right? People they just see in the news and on the media like, oh, there's these extreme ideas, and then they don't want to get involved because it's a lot of yelling, right? But that's not what it actually is, or at least that's my understanding. Is that's not what government's about.
That's Mr. John Brown. He's been on our planning commission for how long, John?
8 years.
8 years. It's a long time to stare at black and white documents with little small print. He's suffering through PTSD. Now he's here with the Jenks City Council, but he has his thumbprint on many, many, many pieces of real estate all over the city, probably more than any of us here combined. Mr. Brown, any questions, comments for this fine group?
Congratulations on stepping up, especially looking at the local level. If some of you are thinking about, again, going on to other governance roles, it all starts at the local level. Statistically speaking, we all, when you're in a younger age, we think about going off and going to the nether regions of the world, but one of the three of you will come back and make your home here. How long have you been in the district, in Jenks Public Schools?
I'm a Jenks lifer.
Lifer, okay.
Funny, I've moved a lot in my life. Attended pre-K here, moved to Las Vegas in kindergarten, came back here, and ever since then I've been here. But yeah, I've been in this city, or at least at this school district, for most of my life.
Okay.
I started off in California, and then I've been here since like 3 years old.
Okay.
I've been in Jenks for.
Awesome. That's great. That's great. So we'll definitely see one of you guys maybe eventually up here in some kind of
Yeah.
a role serving. Where are you all volunteering at right now? Community service?
Oh, I am in the zoo team program at the zoo, so I do that. And then just opportunities that happen around school, sometimes I'll do that.
My greatest avenue for volunteering community service is my church over on 101st St. Bernard's of Clairvaux. I help out with the religious education program, and I also serve as part of the youth council there as well for planning stuff. And yeah, mainly church focused. What else? I volunteer tutor.
It's kind of the same with me and him. Is most of it's through our church, so we're both really involved at St. Bernard's. So that's basically all my Sunday is just at my church, helping my peers and younger people hopefully grow in their faith, and me as well.
No, number of
Very
people
cool.
there. It's a good church. Again, congratulations on that. Now, did you get involved in ROTC or Civil Air Patrol at all?
I did not.
Okay, those were things, but you can't go back and do that. Open water certification, you were Patty?
I did it with my SSI.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I also have the advanced open water certification.
We'll definitely take the mayor up on his offers, because these are things that will help you on your future decisions. So congratulations. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So before you go, so we are the board of if this were a corporation, we are the board of directors. We don't do this for a living. As Councilor Short, we don't get paid. We get a lot of free food and T-shirts. This gentleman here is the highest ranking person in the city of Jenks. I often call him my ace of spades. I wish I had more than one ace of spades, but he's what we got. So if you think of a future in anything we do, you could sit with one of us and get paid and take bullets every day, or you could be smart like Chris and actually do the job and make a living out of it. So this is Mr. Chris Shrout. He's the city manager of Jenks. Nothing happens without him. And if you'd like to take an opportunity, Chris, to do your thing.
Mayor, I got to do this about 2 hours ago.
Oh, you did? Okay, all right. Well, shoot, let's go around the room. I got attorneys, got engineers, I got a chamber presidents.
I was going to say, they started, so I have to brag really quick
Okay.
on these three because I didn't get to, but, so Sarah is very, very passionate about environmental science. Christopher's a National Merit Scholar. Josh, you're a full-time swimmer, correct? I mean, these are like, they're crazy busy individuals, and so, sorry, I have to do this because that's to be on the record. But when they came to us, they had zero plan except just to get involved. And so today they went on a tour of City Hall. They've already planned, they're doing a tour of Jenks Police Department. They're doing a tour of the fire department. We're doing the aquarium. They want to know what's happening and the functions of our city. So the wastewater treatment, public works, they're interested in all of that. So I just want to let you guys know that too. They're not just doing community service. They're really trying to dive in and see how does the city of Jenks function and what do we do. They met except I think Teresa and HR. That was it. They met city engineer. They met Mr. Carr today. So they got to hear a little bit from everyone.
Very good.
Yeah.
When do you guys do your elections and pick leaders?
Well, we're still trying to figure out exactly how we want to have it structured.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, we just have the council itself, so just the body of everyone in there. And then we're not sure if we want to have, like an elevated council, like a higher council, or if we want to have different positions. It's still, we're trying to determine that, I guess. Do you have anything to add?
In your tours and visiting, and I would hope also, if you guys haven't, a lady sitting on the second row, Heather Turner, is the president of our chamber, and she is a very good resource, and I think that would be something that you guys might want to touch base with her, because she's got a lot of resources and be able to visit with you about things going on in the city also. So be included on things like that. Come out and do things. When there's events, come out and help, be a part of it. And that's where we try to get involved. And with you guys getting involved, we can do it together, and we'll co-counsel together.
Thank you guys for your willingness to serve, and for those of you that are still here, when you do get organized and you decide on a structure of leadership, come back and call me. I'll have a small gift for you, okay? Sound fair?
Thank you.
And then come back and let us know what you decided. We'd be interested in, it'd be almost interesting to see how you do it compared to how the adults do it. But, and when that time comes, I'd love to see you guys up here doing your thing and hashing out good ideas. I'll have a small gift for you at that point. Sound fair? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you guys. Appreciate it. You guys want to call it a night? All right, let's see here. Okay, we're at the point in our meeting, citizens' comments or public comments, if you will. For those of you that do not know what that means, this is an opportunity for anyone that is present to come forward and address the council as a whole. We just simply ask that your questions be limited to any topic of discussion that is not on tonight's agenda. So if it's not on tonight's agenda and it's on your mind, we are open ears and we'd love to hear about it. Good evening to you both. If we could just please, for the record, have your first and last name and your address.
Thank you. I'm Brian Touche. My wife Karen Touche. We live at 302 East 111th Street.
Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Mayor Bach, City Council members, and staff. We are representing ourselves and also have some informational packets that we can distribute to you if you'd like that detail our concerns. We'd like to bring to the attention of the council our concerns about an activity that's going on down at the end of our street that I think is posing some real concerns for us about our property, the enjoyment of our property, and health and safety. Specifically, we have a raccoon explosion of population going on at the end of 111th Street, East 111th Street. This is almost to the river, and we believe it's being promoted by active feeding of wild raccoons. We know this is actually happening at 421 East 111th. These are neighbors of ours who are actively feeding them. Just to give you a description, we've actually, it's quite dramatic. It involves bags of dog food and 15 to 20 raccoons running around at a time. And so, of course, the activity doesn't end when the day ends. The raccoons like to go out and invade the rest of the neighborhood. And this has been going on for a while, but it's been increasingly a concern for us because and we have them invading our property, and we have that on security camera. They're digging holes under our fences, digging holes in our yard, leaving their disease-spreading scat all over our yard. And we're really concerned about, that they can spread zoonotic illnesses and so forth. And so we're really quite concerned about it. The neighbors in question have not been responsive to intervention even by the Jenks police. We have met with Captain Bradley Schaus last week and also your Director of Wildlife Management, and they have actually spoken with them, and they refuse to stop the behavior, stop feeding the raccoons. As we started looking into this, we thought, well, maybe there's a city, maybe there's city rule or law or something that would regulate this. And, you know, we found a few things that we included in your packet there. We're not attorneys. We don't know if they apply or not, but we would certainly hope they could be enforced. They reference nuisance animals and so forth. But even if they don't, perhaps the city council would consider some other actions that might assist us. We're really looking for help here. I don't know that we have, we certainly know that we have no control over what our neighbors choose to do. Certainly we could try to persuade or influence, but it doesn't appear that there's any plans to change that behavior. We also have, we're not the only ones. We have other neighbors. There's a statement included in your packet from the neighbor who lives right next to them and can give you some details. And we also have a statement from one of our other neighbors who could not be here tonight, who, it's just a brief statement if you don't mind sharing it.
Yeah, is that okay with everyone that I read it? Sure. Okay. I'm Karen Touche again, and I have been in contact with several of our neighbors down the street on 111th Street where we live. And then also our property is adjacent to Valley View. That is a neighboring, a neighborhood that is moving more towards Elm, away from the river. And we've noticed, as I've talked with several of those neighbors, they've also observed the raccoons climbing on the fence. That's how, and we've done everything we can to try and keep them out of our property. We recently had a company come in and trap 5 on our property since October the 20th and relocate them. And so we are doing what we can to try and keep them from invading our property. But I spoke, one of the things that I've included here that I passed out to you were a letter from one of the neighbors that lives down the street next to them and their experience with this. And also the email that we sent to the mayor, vice mayor, and Councilman Short, which is in our district. So, and then also information that we actually found out as we were doing more research about raccoons, and that it's not just that they're invading us, it's also, as Jenks continues to develop and grow into areas where there's all this wildlife, I think it's important that we educate ourselves and the city on how to handle this, because I think we're going to see more wildlife, you know, encroaching on residential areas and how we handle it. So that's part of what I included in there. It was just more information that I found out that I really didn't know. It's not just about how it affects us, it's about how it affects the wildlife too. So, and I'll read you this brief little letter. It's a text that Dana Hoy and Mike Hoy sent us. They couldn't be here tonight, so they wanted to at least make a statement. They said, "Dear City Councilors, we would like to express our concern for the infestation of the raccoon population in our residential area. We witness neighbors feeding them daily, encouraging them to drive their population to our homes looking for food. Their extensive presence is luring other prey into our yards as well. We recently lost a pet to a vicious coyote attack in our yard at 6 a.m. These animals are preying on our pets as a result of the raccoons invading our residential area, a resident area. We have a work obligation and we're not able to be here present at the city meeting, but support our neighbors' efforts to express our genuine concern. Please feel free to call us if we can be of further assistance, Mike and Dana Hoy, and then they gave their cell phone number, 918-381-3561. That's it. I think that's all we had for you. So our main thing was just to see if we could, I did state some in the packet, I think the email that we sent, we looked at some ordinances that were possibly could, you know, be with this situation and maybe look at something like that. But if not, we were interested in finding out if the city could actually start to look at imposing an ordinance about feeding wild animals that, you know, we could, that was one of our goals in this, was to see if we could, if there isn't an ordinance, to see if we could get an ordinance in place.
Thank you for your consideration.
And before you guys go, one, thank you for being here. And as I discussed with you a few weeks ago, this is not a public agenda item, so we won't be answering any questions of yours tonight. But I will, I think I've mentioned this to our city manager, but we're going to try to find a way to see if we can apply a remedy if there is one. I've also talked to one or two of your neighbors, and there might be other remedies as well that we can discuss offline, but I can imagine, yeah. Appreciate y'all being here.
It's not
Thank you.
fun.
Yeah.
Thank you all
Yeah,
so much
thank
for your
you.
consideration.
Have a good evening.
Have a great evening.
Yeah. And to Sarah, Chris, and Josh, it's not all fun and games. Sometimes it's raccoons. Last year, we had an exotic monkey. I wonder what happened to that monkey. Any other citizens' comments? Yes, sir.
Justin Little, 10531 South Koa. Mayor Box City Council, I prepared the statement to give at the last city council meeting, but since Mayor Box and Councilman Klein were absent, I decided to hold it until tonight. I believe this information is still timely and relevant, especially with the State of the City address that was done this past week and the comments that were made in it. So a few weeks ago, Mayor Box, buried in the thread of the 10 District Facebook page you posted, we are hosting a public safety Jenks Fire Department, Jenks Police Department open house town hall meeting on November the 14th at 6:30. I appreciate you getting this set up, and I hope the city takes the opportunity to not only listen to the residents, but to actually hear what they're saying and please take it to heart. But in the spirit of connecting the dots, that same week, you also posted the following on Nextdoor concerning the Ripken Experience project. It was my intention to hold a town hall discussion. You go on to say, I do not know why the applicant chose to pull the meeting. I didn't need to ask why. Please remember that this project is not the city's. We are not the applicant, and we do not need to sell this project to the public. That task is for the applicant. I hope this response addresses the concern of why there was no meeting in June. Now, I appreciate it was your intention to hold a town hall discussion on the Ripken project. I think that may have gone a long way due to the public perception of the way this matter was handled by the city. But what jumps out at me is here when you say, I don't know why the applicant chose to pull the meeting. I didn't need to ask why, and we do not need to sell that project to the public. Give me a moment and I'll get back to why those statements specifically jumped out at me. On July the 19th, Mayor Box, on Facebook, you posted, the only reason to sign the petition is if you were against this project, known as the Cal Ripken Experience. Then sharing Mayor Box post on Facebook, Mr. Klein, you took it up a notch. Said you do not need to sign the petition unless you are adamantly against the Ripken Experience project. So if I'm reading this correctly, what Mr. Klein is saying is you couldn't be on the fence about it, maybe a little bit against it. If you wanted to sign the petition giving the citizens the ability to vote on it, you must be adamantly against the Ripken Experience. And you both said that was the single reason to sign it. But the issue is neither one of your statements are accurate. As we had residents that stated that they signed the petition specifically because they were unhappy on how the city handled this issue. Now, why would that be? I think statements from city officials and staff will help give us that insight. As promised, back to your post on Nextdoor app. I do not know why the applicant chose to pull the meeting, didn't need to ask why, and we don't need to sell this project to the public. Mayor Box, with all due respect, as an elected city official, you have the responsibility to the residents of Jenks to know why. I would infer from that statement, you did not feel that it was the city's responsibility to sell a project that was being done by a private developer on private land. But that argument simply doesn't hold water. City officials made a decision to donate public land to the developer for this project. That donation of public land belonged to the residents of Jenks. The city officials who made the decision to make a donation to such a controversial project bear the responsibility to sell this donation to the residents. And more importantly, the residents of Jenks deserve this explanation in simple, plain-spoken terms and not in semantics. Other statements that contribute to residents signing the petition include, on May 11, 2023, Mayor Box sent an email to staff, including Ms. Hilton, that included the following. The Ripken Experience has always included the commercial component. On September 7th, testifying in court, Ms. Hilton was asked, did anyone make it clear that this PUD was not about commercial development? Her response, yes, sir. So you're the reason that commercial is not part of this proposal, right? Her response, I am. Also in court, Ms. Hilton was asked, so are you familiar with the Ripken Experience? Her response, no, sir. So to finish the sentence from your email, also, the Ripken Experience has always included the commercial component. We did not agree to donate, and let me repeat that. We did not agree to donate JPWA land in return for 10 baseball fields. How can the residents of Jenks be confident in what's happening at City Hall when the council is relying on staff recommendations. And by the statements I've read to you, it's obvious that council and staff are either not on the same page or there's some confusion on the scope of projects that are being presented to them. So I'm left wondering now, is it a competency issue or is it an integrity issue? Through council and staff statements, I hope I hope that I've illustrated to you the fears and frustrations of the residents of Jenks. The semantics and word games that have been on display during this process is concerning to Jenks residents, to say the least. The residents of Jenks deserve for our city officials and staff to be transparent and upfront. I appreciate the opportunity to voice those concerns tonight, and as residents, we attempt to connect those dots. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Little. All right, anyone else? Public comments, citizens' comments? Very well, we will close the floor to public comment, and we will move on to tonight's regular agenda. And item number 1 is the consideration and appropriate action relating to a request for approval of the consent agenda. If the council member would like to pull an item, you may. If not, you can make a motion to enact item 1 as an entirety.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you both. We have a proper motion and a second to approve item 1. Let's vote, please.
Emmons.
Yes.
Ogier.
Yes.
Murray.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes, item 2 we will pull. We move on to item 3, which is the appointment of Ray Stevens to the Planning Commission for a term ending May 30th of 2025. We invite Mrs. Hilton to come forward. If you're following along online or in your packet, we're on page 96 of our agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council, and staff. Since the appointment, of Mr. John Brown to the city council, the Planning Commission has been missing a commissioner. And so at this time, we have put the word out, we've accepted applications, and Mr. Ray Stevens has been interviewed by staff, and we feel like he is a good candidate for that position. He has previously served in 2017, and I believe that his experience will bring a good balance to the commission. So as of right now, let me get this. He lives in Ward 4, and you'll see that at the end on page 99 of your packet. You see his resume. At this time, staff does recommend the nomination that Mr. Box has for Ray Stevens to the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Mrs. Hilton and council members. Mr. Stevens is my recommendation to all of you for consideration for this vacancy. You guys can choose to accept my nomination, or if you'd like, you can invite Mr. Stevens to come forward and answer questions if that is your will. I will start off with the vice mayor, ma'am. What's your preference?
I'm good at this point in time, thank you.
Okay. Counselors, anyone like to meet Mr. Stevens? Anyone in the audience like to speak on Mr. Stevens' behalf?
Is Mr. Stevens in the room? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I want to see what he looks like at least. Thank you.
Mr. Stevens, why don't you come forward so we can see what you look like and embarrass you a little bit and welcome you to wonder why the heck you are willing to serve on the Planning Commission for a second time. Tell us a little bit about yourself, if you would.
My name is Ray Stevens. Lived in Jenks. Gosh, my son's now 27. He started school over here in, I believe it was first grade, so been here quite a while. Had a brief departure for Jenks for about a year, which is why I got off the commission. I've been back for the last 5 years. So I've been involved with volunteer. I was on the commission with Mr. Brown, Mr. West back here as well, back in 2017 for a few years. I've served on the board of baseball, Jenks Youth Baseball over here for the last 10 years as well. Outside of that, I work for a company called Xperi, which is formerly known as TV Guide as well in Tulsa. I've been there for 30 years. So I've been around the same company for that amount of time. So I just dedication to the city of Jenks. I love the city of Jenks. I love both of my kids have gone through the school system. My stepson is currently a junior here at Jenks High School as well, so kind of not necessarily a Jenks lifer, but the majority of my adult life has been spent here, so it's very passionate about the town. So.
Great. Mr. Stevens, were you on the Planning Commission? When did you drop off?
It would have been 2019.
So you were here for ConocoPhillips?
Over off of Elwood?
Do you remember? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very well. All right. Any questions for Mr. Stevens since we dragged him up here? Council, Mayor? No? Okay. Well, I can say this. I appreciate your willingness to serve. Certainly a second time. You know, the job's hard.
Yeah.
And I'd say this to Chairman West, Dr. West, who's here. He vouches for you, which means a lot to me, and the fact that you're willing to come back and do this a second time. For you guys in Youth City Council, our Planning Commission, it's kind of like the real technical arm of reviewing everything that the city planner brings to us. They are a recommending body, and they say to us, we highly encourage you via this vote that you guys proceed with these projects or these different things we do with real estate parcels. We count on them to really, dot the i's and cross t's and look with the, maybe they don't need a magnifying glass like me, but it's a lot of technical work, and it's not easy. And it's certainly not easy to find volunteers, let alone somebody who's going to do it twice. So pat this man on the back on the way out. It's very difficult to find people to serve, and I appreciate your willingness to do so, sir. Thank you. Very well. If there's no closing comments, there's related to item number 3. If someone would like to make a motion for approval or disapproval of Mr. Stevens, it'd be appreciated.
Make a motion to approve Mr. Stevens to the Planning Commission.
Second.
Thank you both. We have a proper motion and second to approve item 3. Let's vote, please.
Emmons?
Yes.
Ogier?
Yes.
Murray?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Klein?
Yes.
Mayor Box?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Thank you, Chairman West. Appreciate you guys. Moving on to item number 4 is ordinance number 1629 relating to JZ 23-687. It's rezoning a tract of land to RTC, or Riverfront Tourist Commercial, at the general location of the southeast corner of East 101st Street and South Lewis Avenue. We welcome back Mrs. Hilton. We are on page 102, if you are following along.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council, and staff. This is a project that has had many, many, many conversations internally and probably externally. There's a piece of land, it's about 10 acres, that is east of the site for the Simon Outlet Mall and adjacent to the river. And it's been purchased by a developer group. They are looking to do a mix of uses. Originally, they had some other ideas. We were going to present a PUD to you all, but they've changed their minds, and at this time, they don't have a site plan specifically. They're going to have to go through all the engineering process and plating. But staff and Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this project, and we're asking you to approve the rezoning from Ag to RTC. If you look on page 104 of your packet, I didn't put a big arrow. A lot of times I like to put a big arrow, but it's basically the property where you see PUD 100. It's the property directly east of that. And then if you look on page 105, it kind of shows you the outline of that property that was, and this is where we did the comp plan amendment back in March. So there are some recommendations. We know that there's going to be a trail along the river. We don't know the exact location of it, so we've asked them to dedicate land for that purpose, so we don't have to go back later and get it. That would be done during the plating process. Also, 101st Street right-of-way will need to be dedicated. They're aware of all of this, and they'll have to go through the site plan approval process. Staff and Planning Commission do recommend approval.
Thank you, Mrs. Hilton. What was the vote? Was it unanimous?
We had only 4 present.
Oh,
We
okay,
had,
that's right.
2
Okay.
absent.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Thank you. Very well. Thank you, Mrs. Hilton. Any questions from council? Mayor Ogier?
No.
Mr. Klein?
No questions.
Mr. Murray?
No questions.
And Mr. Emmons?
It is just that shoe-looking kidney shape, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that the technical term?
I think
for-
it's quite technical,
I
yeah.
can show you.
No questions, Mr. Emmons?
No, thank you.
And Mr. Brown?
Yes, because the planning commission was a little light, were there any technical questions from the planning commission on this site?
No, sir, not on this.
Okay. I noticed some of the future plans that might include restaurants, medical spa, hotel, the may in there. This is going to be outside the levees. It's in a floodplain, correct?
This particular is, I was trying to think the exact boundary.
Okay. Do you know if the developers have had any discussion about how they'll mitigate that?
Hours and hours of
Okay,
conversation.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
And at this point, that would be between the engineer of record, and they would go through all the legal process with the state and the federal, anything that's required at that, and of course, meeting our own standards and going through our city engineer.
Okay, yeah, I guess I was thinking this particular plat, being how close it is to the outlet mall, I noticed there's still an issue of standing water down there when we get heavy rains. So if that would have any impact on the outlet mall development. So that was all I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. We can go ahead and close the floor. Anyone in the public like to comment on rezoning item number 4, JZ 23-687? Anyone from the public? Youth City Council. I'll tell you what's going on here. So that little piece of property is right next to the river. And there's a gentleman who bought it. Here's the technical term for what he's going to do. What he was going to do was really cool. Really good restaurant, a pretty cool bar, some medical things, and maybe even some pickleball. We don't know if all that's going to happen anymore, but it may go from pretty cool just to cool. But nevertheless, it's good for the city of Jenks. Keep an eye on it. You guys actually might be gone and off to college before it happens, but call your parents and ask them if the cool thing's still happening. All right, we can close the floor to the public. We can come back to council. Last call for council questions, comments, item number 4, JZ 23-687. Very well. Close the floor to council. We can entertain a motion. There is one.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you both. We have a proper motion and a second to approve JZ 23-687, ordinance number 1629. Let's vote, please.
Emmons.
Yes.
Ogier.
Yes.
Murray.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes, item 5 is the emergency clause for ordinance number 169.
Is that supposed to be 1629?
Correct. Thank you, Mr. Murray. Emergency clause for ordinance number 1629 for the record.
Motion to approve?
Thank you both. Proper motion second. Let's vote, please. Item 5.
Emmons.
Yes.
Ogier.
Yes.
Murray.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes, item number 6, ordinance number 1630 relating to JZ 23, Planned Unit Development 121, major amendment number 1, a major amendment to Planned Unit Development 121 to allow for a change in green space at the general location of 728 West Main Street. We are on page 111 if you're following, and we come back to Mrs. Hilton.
Good evening, Mayor Box, council, and staff. With your permission, I would like to talk about items number 6, 7, 8, and 9 as one cohesive conversation.
You may.
It will still
Thank you.
require for 2 separate votes. So this applicant came to us a while back and would like to sell part of their property to the church. So the general location, let me back up a little bit, 716 West Main. So this is Melody Lane, and the actual property has been a retrofit from, I think we started in 2020 and got some things approved, and they've done a great job getting it revitalized and bringing a lot of activity to that area. Part of their original overall goal was to have what is called the backyard and an event-type space, and so they got the planned unit development approved, and I think they've had multiple activities, but at this time, the ownership has shifted the vision, and that little triangular piece at the bottom of the screen, which we'll call the backyard, and then the space between the structure and the backyard, all of that is in a very complicated process being shifted around. So I'm going to say that the applicant is seeking 2 approvals. the first approval is a major amendment to PUD 121. And then the second approval, and that one would be to remove a portion of the site, which we'll call the backyard, from PUD 121. And then the second approval they are seeking is a major amendment to specific use permit 113, and that's to add that backyard portion to the specific use permit 113. And in the middle of all that, that little portion, we're going to call it the lesson accept, that's what I usually call it. The stage area will stay in the will be transferred, the ownership will be transferred to the church, but will stay within the PUD, and the uses of the PUD will not change. I know, it's a lot. So I'll walk you through it.
Pause real quick. So the stage and the AstroTurf area with the picnic tables will be legally owned by the church, but their use resides in the original PUD?
The allowed uses reside within the PUD.
Okay. And the church will own
But the
it?
church will own it and operate it.
The stage that next to
Yes,
the
sir.
bar? Okay.
So it'll be like an amenity to their church.
Okay.
And one of the primary reasons, I don't know if it's a primary reason, they wanted, I believe, to use the event space, but also see that little double line loop there? That's the fire lane, and it cannot go away. It could be reconfigured, but with the investment of the entertainment area, it doesn't make any sense at this time to reconfigure that.
Okay. Thank you. Carry on. I'm sorry.
Okay. I will say that the Planning Commission approved this unanimously. The primary concerns were parking, any additional buildings, and the overall vision of the church. Again, we only had 4 planning commissioners present that evening. The purpose of purchasing the backyard would be to build a new sanctuary. So we'll get to that in just a minute. The other process that was approved at Planning Commission was a minor subdivision request. So they will lot split the entertainment section and add it to the backyard. And the ownership, like I said, the ownership is different. I guess the whole point is the ownership of the parcels are different than the actual uses allowed. The boundaries are different. So let's turn to we'll go to page 112. And in regards to parking, when the church got a major amendment in 2019, when Mr. Beach was here as the planning director, there was a lot of conversation about parking at that time. What would be required by the code is 208. No, that's what they provided. I didn't write it down. I'll look at it. But they are above the required parking for the site. And that was mainly because since that time of the original SUP, there's always been a shared parking agreement. But in addition to that, the same ownership created a PUD on the west side of Melody Court. And that one has additional parking, 54 additional spaces, and they are also part of that shared parking. There was also 100 and something spaces adjacent to Chase Bank, and those spaces have not been included because they met the code requirement without that. So that is the gist of the parking. If you turn to the PUD starts on page 120. I'm not going to go through all of that. I'll spare you some of those details. I think, let's go to page 164. So this is towards the end of this section. There was one other one that was pretty good. Sorry, Brandon, can you go to 163 first? So on, is that page 163 of the packet? Thank you. So on this page, it says Exhibit F2 shows the change of ownership and establishes the new boundary for PUD 121. So in this document, this was the original site plan that was submitted in the PUD. And you can't see really well, but the area that Mr. Macy has zoomed into, this is the portion that will be removed from the planned unit development. So PUD 121 will not include what we will call the backyard. And then, so the boundary comes straight across there by Josh's. That was one of the questions from the planning commission. Josh's will stay. They're working on what they want to do. On page 164, this shows the new boundary of the church. So all of that would be owned by the church on the next page. Thank you, Brandon. And again, just to point out that there's a little bubble line all the way around the specific use permit. And then there's a little, it says removed from PUD 121, that's the red lines. And then just north of that is the less than accept property that stays in PUD 121. So I apologize if that was a little clunky, but it's taken us a really long time to get to this place because it was a lot of, and honestly, it took me more than one try to figure out what they wanted to do. So thank you all for your attention on this. This is items number 6, which is the major amendment to PUD 121. So it's a JZ PUD 121. And then number 7, I believe, is the emergency clause. And then item number 8 is specific use permit 113. Planning Commission and staff do recommend approval of both.
Thank you, Mrs. Hilton. We'll open the floor to council. Mrs. Ogier, any questions? Get us started off, okay. Mr. Klein?
No questions.
Mr. Murray?
I guess a couple, is the grassy area to the east of the church building, is that part of Chase property? I know part of that parking lot that's east of the Cape and everything is Chase, but I know about the grassy area.
No, directly east of the church is a different owner.
Is what, I'm sorry?
Ragland, that's part of the Ragland property.
It's got a for lease sign on it right now, too.
Okay.
Interesting to know.
Is the Cape closing down, or they just not needing all of the space? I mean,
It was never part of the Cape. It was always part of the plaza, and the Cape was able to use it. So
Okay.
it's not really related to the Cape's use or operation.
is Josh's snow cone still out there? I haven't been over there in a while. I didn't know if.
They're staying, and they're not going anywhere. Like, they might physically shift a little bit. I can't remember the details exactly, but they will still be in that general location.
Is Josh is on a slab?
Mhm.
That's, okay.
To the west side.
Yeah. Any other
Okay,
questions,
that's
Mr.
it.
Murray?
Thank you.
So keep the important ones, and beer and the snow cones are staying. Snow cones for you. Beer for people with white hair that are stressed out. Mr. Brown, any questions?
Did you have any questions?
Well, I was going to relieve him and do you first, because by the time you're done, nobody will have any more
I
questions.
apologize, and again, for the applicant here, I know that some of these questions were asked at the Planning Commission, and let me just say this right up front, I'm not wanting to undermine anybody's work or opposition on this. On page 164, Exhibit B, the backyard lot, is that where they're proposing the new sanctuary?
Yes, sir.
Do we have, and I know that the applicants here, along with Red Dog, do we know how many seats, how many people that sanctuary is going to hold?
Yes. And it's too small for me to read.
Okay.
The applicant will know.
Yeah, I'd have some questions, I think, for the applicant. Again, I don't want to oppose this from a
Is there's, what are
governance
you,
standpoint, but I'd have some.
what was your concern? The
My
parking?
concerns are from a standpoint of ministry and church growth. I don't know what their congregation is running right now, but if you were to ask me my personal opinion, professional opinion, I think they will invest in this property, and if they are in a growth mode, they will regret it 2 to 3 years down the line and be relocating, and then we'll be dealing with this property again. And this Melody Lane, this particular development has come to the commission, to the council so many times. It's very, as you know, it's very complex with all of the interlocutory agreements between the entities. So I'd just like to ask a couple questions of the applicant, if I could.
Mr. Emmons?
Oh, I was waiting for him to come and ask questions.
Okay, very well. We'll go ahead and, thank you, Mrs. Hilton. We'll go ahead and close the floor to the council momentarily. If the applicant is here and like to answer any questions, I think we have a few. You're welcome to come forward. Name, address, please, sir.
Hi, Josh McFarland, 5102 East 108th Street. And also the church is here as well if there's something that needs to be asked of them. But I think I can answer most of them. If not, I'll yield to them to come up.
Okay, very well. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Brown.
Yes, so the planned sanctuary, how many people will that hold?
300 or less.
300 or less.
Keep in mind their current situation. This isn't 300 on top of what they currently have. This is 300 total.
Okay. And the design of the sanctuary, is it going to be physically attached to the existing building or separate?
We're undetermined at this point because of fire code. We want to
Right.
make sure we're in code compliance. But Greg Helms is doing the review and the study, so Greg's been kind of all over this, working through it.
So then maybe restroom facilities will rely upon the existing structure?
Potentially. I
Yeah.
think our very brief discussions with the church is that maybe that turns into the youth ministry side and the restrooms and the kitchen services and the fellowship hall.
And I guess do we know what the congregation's running right now as far as attendance, regular attendance?
I'd have to yield that to the
Yeah,
church.
okay. Good night.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant?
And as a reminder, the parking situation, if that is a concern, they're coming in the morning on a Sunday, and none of those businesses are open right now. I would prefer to be open on a Sunday and yield the traffic and the sales tax at Which and all the other places. So we might start opening up earlier with this new growth.
I just again, from a practical standpoint, I see that as a potential conflict because church growth, in order to follow normal growth, you're going to then need to be dealing with youth activities, family activities, which means you'll be expanding beyond just Sunday morning. So then that is going to be competing with the parking, the shared parking with Melody Lane. Same thing with Melody Lane. If they want to fully utilize and grow the retail activities, again, if that's being pared down because of activities happening at the church, point of reference, if we look at, and this is not meant to be anything negative, but if we look at what's happening with transformation down in Bixby and the encroachment of sound with the church in relation to the community, it's a real hot button right now. So the question would be, is it a long-term fit beyond a 2 to 3 year temporary fix to get them to the level of growth? So it's just, have they consulted with any church growth planners in their development on the site? It's easy to develop on the site where you're at because you're right there, but there may be other properties in the community that might be a better long-term fit. Again, personal opinion, outside the purview of our vote, but just throwing it out there for consideration.
Yeah, and the answer to that is yes. They've been they went through with Greg Helms from a design side on what their growth looks like, and also with building 12 or 13 churches, we've seen this and went through this growth plan with them. So we feel like we've exhausted a lot of that and got good answers. Also, what we really haven't talked about is the current PUD that I have for that location right now. It really was set up in a way that this new PUD, new ownership, it cleans a lot of stuff up that would prevent problems if we don't do this. Currently, there's access for 1,500 people to be in the backyard. So that's something that there's no way we would ever have 1,500 people back there. But that's something that if left like it is, you could have a real problem with parking and noise, and this kind of cleans that up. There's a lot of measures we looked at that we really didn't put forth the best effort on the first PUD. And so I think by selling this and changing it and getting a good steward, a good vested owner of the property, now we have somebody to clean up after it. We have somebody to look after it, to just kind of be vested and like they have been for years. But it puts good eyes on it where I'm not there all the time. So.
In the process, did Mr. Helms look at alternative locations? This is kind of a love it or list it type of issue.
We can defer these questions if you feel like the church is here. They'd rather.
Yeah, I think it'd be good for them to at least say whatever
questions, you'd have for
Yeah.
them directly.
Any other technical questions related to the existing PUD or, okay, well, we have Mr. McFarland
Mine
here.
may not be so much technical.
Mr. Murray?
I guess, other than the Melody Lane parking lot, the lot that's east of there that I've been under the impression is Chase owns, I guess there's a mutual agreement
That's correct.
for that to be utilized for overflow, whether it's Melody Lane attendance or the church attendance, and I assume that'll be still available, so that'll offer a lot of opportunity for parking, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So in your opinion, is there enough parking for the future growth of this church and Melanie Lane to prosper and succeed?
Yeah, I think,
In your opinion, because I'm not going to ask you to count souls and then multiply by 2.5 or whatever.
in my personal opinion, there's plenty of parking for the
Okay.
church.
Okay.
And for Melody Lane to coexist at the same, if it was that they were open all the time, I would maybe have a different opinion.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. McFarland or representatives from Red Dog? Can we assume you're the potential contractor?
I don't know.
Oh.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Hopefully. We're in the
It's in
building
your
business.
backyard, so I thought maybe you'd
That's right.
have a shot at it.
That's right.
Hmm.
And just to let everybody know, the stage and their plans with it, I think are way cool. Like, right now, we're just doing birthday parties, and people hire a rock band, they get way too loud, and we get calls from the apartments, they call, and it's always an issue. They go way too late. So what the church is looking at doing is more of a youth ministry, cool Christian acts. I mean, this is a family wholesome place, and that's what it was intended for. But without me there all the time to watch it and manage it like I need to make it work, this is an ideal plan. So.
Great. Thank you, Mr. McFarland. And before we open the floor to public comment, I guess to give better context to that, we can invite the representative from the church if you'd like to come forward and speak on behalf of this project. It would be much appreciated. Good evening, sir. If we could just have your first and last name and address for the record, please.
Thank you. Hello, council. My name is Ben Averett, and I reside at 10616 South Nathan in Jenks.
And you are the pastor?
Yes, sir.
You want to share with us your vision of the future of this, if you could? Just to clear
Well,
out. And I think the reason that's important is because typically if we have public comment, they're going to ask questions that I think probably only you could answer. So if we hear from you first.
Certainly. As you can tell on the drawing, it's in a larger sanctuary space. We're currently at over 80% capacity with the current space that we have. And so we're in need of more capacity. With regard to the questions of future capacity, if we were to max this space out, what would we do? We have talked about that a lot, and the idea is that at that point, we would probably seek to go to a second service and multiply the congregation that way versus continued buildings. We're philosophically opposed to the mega church facilities because they cost in the multiple millions of dollars, and we would rather invest money into people's lives versus large structures. But this would enable us to get to a capacity that if we filled this sanctuary and we went to a double service, you could go perhaps from 300 to a 600-member congregation just meeting in two different time slots. So the parking, et cetera, would be the similar, whether it was an 8 o'clock service, a 9:30 service, or an 11 o'clock service, or something like that. But we really don't have any other intentions of trying to build larger sanctuaries. We're a church that believes in church planting rather than building larger facilities. We're not we haven't cornered greatness in the church world. And so if we got to the place where we've needed to, we would probably instead seek to plant a church somewhere in a different community that would be of a like-minded nature of our church, and then support that church and send some of our people over to that place to plant that church. Those are the kind of conversations that we have with regard to future growth and how to manage that. Any other?
Congregation size, current congregation size?
Currently, we have anywhere from 115 in the sanctuary. We have about 55 kids, so we're maybe averaging 160 to 170 people on a Sunday currently. We started off 5 years ago with about 35, and we're just kind of slowly chugging up the hill, I guess.
Thank you, Pastor. Any other questions, for Mr. Brown?
Yeah, just again, just the general thoughts are typically we see churches locating closer to the rooftops versus a downtown retail area. The retail settings tend to be more transient in nature. Just again, looking at Pew Research on it. And I asked about the congregation size and your trends on growth because they say when you're at about 80%, then you've already outgrown your current
That's correct.
capacity. So again, just concerns for, and not to use them as an example, but Life Church has got the best model on locations on where to put facilities. That's why I was curious on remaining in the downtown area
Yeah,
or near
we would like,
Melody.
our desire is to stay in Jenks.
Yep.
We really like the community. The property next to us, east of us, we did look at that property, and we made a play on that property maybe 3 years ago, and an offer of $850,000 was rejected. They were wanting 1.4 at the time, and I have a feeling they're probably wanting even more now. So if we had the money of a Life Church, we probably would be looking somewhere else.
Yeah.
But we don't have the capacity that they have, obviously. And so the space next to us, where we had our eye on that for a long time, and we were hoping that they might reconsider, and they've chosen thus far not to. And I have seen the sign in the yard currently that's for lease, and so we're like, well, that's interesting. We'll see what happens there.
Are you picking up families from the apartments to the south?
We've picked up a few. Most recently, we picked up a young man who's on the Tulsa FC soccer team. His first name is Moses, so it kind of stuck. Can't remember his last name, but so he's the most recent that we picked up from the apartment complex behind us.
Yeah. Yeah, again, when I look at plants, because you talk about planning, and it's a good way to go, I normally look at the congregation and do a circle geographically, where's everybody living at, and then try to find a spot in the center, but again, that's outside the purview of the council.
Yeah, we purchased Mr. Dunham's facility, I guess, in 2018, I think it was. And we've been in that space. We really like it. 3 years ago, we did an addition, added another $700,000 into the facility. And so we like that location as a church body. We love being kind of close to the heart of Jenks. We've partnered up with Young Life. They currently use our facility every week. With the addition of this property here, we're going to be able to allow Young Life to continue to use that or our facility to bring in concerts, to perhaps even bring some of the, they have annual fundraisers for Young Life that they've done in different locations. So perhaps we might be able to entice them to come and use our space and maybe do an outdoor concert and use the facility inside to do those kinds of activities, as well as some other, I think, some really neat things that we might could do. So those are some of the things that we've envisioned as well. And as you notice, there's additional space on the property next to the sanctuary that's Greg Helms had drawn up for us, like another addition next to that, some concepts that if, for future growth, it was more along the lines of fellowship hall type stuff, but they recommended that we keep that all for right now. There's so many other complicated things happening here. But there's not a lot of space left there, but we would envision just living there and being happy there and not looking to build another larger facility. Now if some of the other properties around there became available for sale, we might end up purchasing some things if that were the case. But in terms of building, this is probably going to be the space that we would look to do it on. But again, who knows what the future holds? I understand your concern as well, and that's relevant without question.
Thank you, Pastor. You should know that his growth concerns stem from the fact that he goes to that tiny little church over there called Victory.
Yes, I can understand that. That makes sense. you probably have experienced some growth concerns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was not my first rodeo either.
that's right.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any other questions for the pastor while we have him here? Thank you, Pastor. Appreciate your time.
Thank you all.
Close the floor to our representative from the church. We can open the floor to the public. Anybody like to make a public comment as it relates to item number 6? Very well, we will close the floor to the public. Coming back to council, last call. Any questions? Very well. If not, we can entertain a motion on JZ 23 PUD 121 Major Amendment Number 1.
So moved. Second.
Thank you very much. We have a proper motion and a second on item 6. Let's vote, please.
Emmons,
Yes.
OJ,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes, thank you. Item number 7 is the emergency clause for ordinance number 1630.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you both. Item 7, let's vote, please.
Emmons,
Yes.
OJ,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes, item 8, ordinance number 1631 relating to JZ 23 SUP 113, Major Amendment Number 1, a major amendment to specific use permit 113 to allow for general assembly at the general location 708 West Main Street. Mrs. Hilton covered this already. Is there any last-minute questions or concerns related from the council? Very well. Public? Thank you both. Thank you very much. When we move on, entertain a motion on item 8, please.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you both. We have proper motion and a second. Let's vote, please.
Emmons,
Yes.
OJ,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes, item 9 is the emergency clause for ordinance number 1631.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. We have a proper motion and a second. Let's vote, please.
Emmons,
Yes.
OJ,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes, thank you. Item 10, something new. Award of the Elm Street or the B Street to K Place Sidewalk Construction Project to Cherokee Pride Construction out of Sapulpa, Oklahoma, in the total amount of $184,267. Funding for the same project to be paid by the Jenks Vision Sales Tax Fund in account number 337505393, also known as Fund 33 Jenks Vision Tax Projects, Roads and Bridges. We are on page 174. Good evening, Mr. Cloyd.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I'd like to take a brief moment to advocate, if I could, with the youth in our presence tonight. Careers in civil engineering, water and wastewater. We need professionals to serve cities, and it's a really worthwhile thing to do, so
I know
please
him.
consider that.
I don't think he's going to be an engineer unless I don't know him well enough. And I don't, she looks wicked smart. Maybe, you got an engineer thing?
If it makes you, I have a communications role, so that's not my thing.
Okay, so you're going to have to recruit elsewhere.
Engineers need to be good communicators too, so.
Sorry, Mr. Cloyd.
All right.
Striking
all right.
out,
Well,
and the rest
I
of
had
them
to-
look
I
like
had to
they
say that
left.
for the sake of my profession.
As soon as they knew an engineering project, they left right before.
You always need more engineers. All right, so the item before you was voted upon by the Jenks citizens and was part of the Jenks Vision sales tax election. So this is the Elm Street sidewalk from B Street to K Place. This project consists of a new sidewalk along the east side of North Elm Street from the existing sidewalk that stops north of the Jenks Library. It goes approximately 2,200 linear feet to West K Place. And it includes some minor drainage improvements with that sidewalk. The project was advertised on August 18th of this year, and we opened bids on September 12th. You can see that we had 9, I apologize for the typo there on the memo, not none, but 9 general contractors submitted bids for this project. The apparent low bid was submitted by Cherokee Pride Construction in the amount of $184,267 and 75 calendar days to complete. Staff's worked with the owners of this company before, and we found their work to be satisfactory. Therefore, staff requests approval of the award of this project to Cherokee Pride Construction. Are Are there any questions for me on this item?
Thank you, Mr. Cloyd. We'll open up. Mayor Roja, any questions on item 10? Very well, Mr. Klein. No question. Mr. Murray.
No question.
Mr. Brown.
No questions.
Mr. Emmons.
No.
Very well, thank you very much. Appreciate it, Mr. Cloyd. If there's no questions, no last-minute comments, we can entertain a motion to approve the
Motion
award.
to approve.
Second.
Thank you both very much. You have a proper motion, a second on item 10. Let's vote, please.
Emmons,
Yes.
Ogier,
Yes.
Murray.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes, thank you very much. Moving on to other business. Mr. Shrout, City Manager's Report.
Mayor and all members of council, we've had a issue with paychecks and direct deposit. Many of the big banks were hit by deposit delays caused by an error at a payment processing network, and so some people didn't get their paychecks on Friday. And I guess it was the end of the day yesterday, we still didn't have that resolved, so we ended up cutting paper checks to the employees that hadn't received their direct deposit, and we're waiting on refunds from the big banks, but it's a nationwide problem, and I think it's a pretty big problem. So staff held a pre-development meeting with Camp Pickle last week. Looks like they're moving forward. 512 Gardens is the multifamily development at 5th Street and B Street. They've done some rough grading and put up their silt fence, so they're moving forward. We have an update on the Main Street construction. The contractors constructed and tested the water line along Birch. They constructed the 12-inch water line relocation across Birch, north of Main. They have laid 700 linear feet of RCB from Veterans Park Pond to Beaver Street, and they laid the detour asphalt up and over the railroad tracks. As you can tell, they're currently working, the north lane is completely gone, and that's what they've been working on. At Tulsa Premium Outlets, they have put in the curb and gutter around the parking lot area. And then for upcoming events, we have numerous chamber events. We have the Jenks Chamber Morning Mingle this Thursday at 9, at 8:30 at Sugar Llamas. We have the City of Jenks Public Safety Town Hall on Tuesday, November 14th from 6:30 to 8:30 in the community room. We have the Jenks Chamber Monthly Luncheon at River Spirit Casino on Wednesday, November 15th. We have the City Council Training on Thursday, November 16th from noon to 1 here in the council chambers. And then we have the Jenks Chamber Lights on Thursday, November 16th from 5 to 8 p.m. I would also ask if Marseille could give us a very quick update on the noise ordinance that Kat brought up last week, or 2 weeks ago.
Yes, thank you. The staff that has been meeting regularly since probably the week after the request for a noise ordinance, so that's the Finance Department, Planning Department, Building Inspections, the Police Department, and the City Clerk, because all of those are very vital in the production of it. Yeah, legal. Did I say finance? I said finance. Finance is not there. It's legal. Sorry, finance is very important, but not to noise. Legal department. So we've met and hired the consultant, had our first round of comments, and then we sat down today, met for over an hour and discussed our comments of her comments. So just plugging along, very technical and a little daunting at times.
So everything is more complicated than it may seem.
Yes, it is.
And I can say I've reached out to mayors and city managers, and I've only gotten 2 responses, but looking at their noise ordinance, it's useless. I mean, they don't even, nobody can measure the noise. So it's so gray. There's no black and white if you can't measure it. And what somebody says is loud, somebody else might think is loud. So I can appreciate the fact that, and to the public that asked for this, I would prefer that we do play the long game and get this right, because I would say the city has a number of ordinances that, in my personal opinion as a resident, are hard to enforce. And it's challenging. I do get a lot of phone calls, one today, where a neighbor complaining about other neighbors' noise, and it's difficult to hear our police department say over and over again, there's nothing we can do about it. There's this we can't enforce, can't do that. So I'd appreciate you guys and taking the long haul on this and getting it right the first time. We very well may end up with the best noise ordinance in Tulsa County when this is all said and done. So thank you for your efforts. Mr. Shrout, back to you, sir.
That is all I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Any questions for Mr. Shrout? Very well. There's one other event this weekend. It is a short one. We're having a veterans salute at Veterans Park from 11 to 11:30. This will be a follow-up to the event we hosted last year, which was the first one. This is an annual remembrance event. This will be 30 minutes. It will not be the same size and scope as what we did last year. So if you're in the neighborhood and you want to be a part of that from 11 to 11:30, bring a veteran, and if you would, and give us a chance to honor them.
If I could just add one more thing.
Yes, sir, yes.
I must have misspoke because Chief Jackson said the Public Safety Town Hall is at 6 p.m. Tuesday, November 14th, 6 p.m.
6? Not 6:30? Okay. Okay. Okay, as long as we know the right time, we're good. Facebook. So it's whatever was printed is the time it is? Oh, I'll be there at 7. Yeah. Mrs. Turner, did you want me to,
Is it? Okay. Okay.
did you want me to open to the public the idea of the brick, or no?
No.
You submitted already? Okay, thank you. One less decision we have to make. Very well. All right, I have no mayor's update. Sorry for my absence last week. It's been extremely busy week as well. I have 3 speeches to do this week all over town, so I'll see you guys when I see you again. And with that being said, if it's okay with you guys, I'm going to take a quick break before we start Public Works Authority, but I believe we are adjourned. There was nothing else, right? Okay. Okay, be right back. I need a quick break. I'm going to call to order tonight's regularly scheduled meeting of the Jenks Public Works Authority. It's still Tuesday, November 7th, 2023. The time is 8:47 p.m. Roll call, please.
Emmons.
Here.
Auger.
Here.
Murray. Here. Brown. Here. Klein. Short. Chairbox.
Here. Thank you very much. My apologies. 7:47. I haven't set this watch back. Yeah. Item number one is tonight's consideration of appropriate action relating to our consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you both. Let's vote, please.
Yes.
Auger.
Yes.
Murray.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Chairbox.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Pull item 2. Item 3 is the award of the Summit View Pavement Rehabilitation Project to Cherokee Pride Construction from Summit, Sapulpa, Oklahoma. Total amount of $163,095. Funding coming from the fiscal year 23-24 budget, account number 53-521-5393, which is our 1 cent capital fund for street maintenance, miscellaneous street repairs for concrete. We are on page 55. If you care to follow, welcome back, Mr. Cloyd.
Chair and members of the authority, this item is to deal with the residential concrete streets in the Summit View addition. They're in poor shape, and there's many areas in the different streets in this addition that need to be repaired. So staff has identified those areas and drawn up some plans and bid documents for that. What a repair accounts for or makes up, basically we've got areas of concrete streets that need to be replaced. So what we'll have a contractor do is go in and take the areas that are drawn up on the plans, remove the concrete, remove the subgrade, and then replace that with appropriate subgrade according to our city standards for street repairs, pavement sections. So they'll go in with basically 8 inches of, in this case, I believe it's 8 inches of subgrade material, which is type A aggregate rock. And that's placed over a filter fabric, which keeps that rock from migrating into the sand. In a lot of places in Jenks has sand. So it keeps it from migrating into that dirt that's underneath that. And then we'll place 6 inches of concrete on top of that. So with that, in conformance with the Oklahoma bidding requirements, we put out an advertisement for this project on September 8th. Bids were opened on October 3rd. We had a total of 6 bidders participate in this bid. The apparent low bid was submitted by Cherokee Pride Construction with a base bid of $163,095 and 90 calendar days to complete. As stated on the previous item that I was up here representing, staff has worked with the owners of this company before, and we found their work to be satisfactory. Therefore, staff requests approval of the award of the Summit View Pavement Rehab Project to Cherokee Pride Construction. Are there any questions about this item?
Thank you, Mr. Cloyd. Ms. O'Shea, any questions?
No.
Mr. Brown?
Just a quick question. I think it was a month ago, maybe a little bit longer, the city had approved a contract with a company that would actually do a drive-through around the city, kind of like Google, and do assessment on the roads.
Yes.
Is this part of that process?
No. And they're scheduled to start their field work in December. So what will probably happen with some projects like Main Street, we've already identified some areas where we have to take that out of the scanning because that's under construction. So we're not going to get a good pavement scan on that. Depending upon which of these projects that may be approved tonight, we may have to do a similar thing there on some of those streets. But hopefully what will happen is those will get done. They'll get a nice high rating of 100 out of 100, and they won't be on the priority list for the next time we start prioritizing which streets do we do next.
I think related to this and the next item, do you, in your professional opinion, do you think that we're seeing wear on these streets because of density, abuse of trucks, design issues, or construction original?
We're seeing wear on these streets because everything wears out.
I guess the reason
it's not for, I understand what
Yeah.
you're getting, and I apologize. I don't mean to sound
No,
like
no,
I was
that's
being
fine.
smart. I didn't mean to sound that way. It is just normal wear and tear
Yeah.
on the streets, and so it's just a matter of trying to prioritize which ones need the most attention and trying to get that to those.
Yeah, I guess the reason I ask it, again, coming in on Ward 1 initially, and I look at the streets around Ward 1, north and south of Main, and I can't recall, other than what we're doing right now, when we've had major construction projects to upgrade some of these streets, and comparatively, when they were originally put in versus some of these newer additions, wondering when some of the older areas of the main city will be upgraded.
And I will say that First and Seventh Street were just overlaid. We have Aquarium Place that is getting, I believe, a mill and overlay. And we've done a lot of work in the alleys, and even going back, you know, it will be a decade, but K Place and B Street have been totally redone. But I do understand what you're talking about with some of the side streets. And we also worked on North Second Street, I believe it was Second, probably within the last 5 years. So we have done quite a bit of work, but you're right, some of the smaller projects on the side streets we, have not addressed recently.
And, looking at the pavement ratings, which I've gone back to the last ones that we did back in 2019, 2020 timeframe, and there's a lot of them that are, neck and neck for bad situations, and we're trying to not center everything in one district, trying to spread that out around the city so that not one area is just getting all the attention. But I appreciate your concern.
Yeah, I think too, when I think about north and the side streets, because of K Place, we get a lot of truck traffic, commercial traffic that's coming from east to west. So there's a lot of heavy vehicles that come through that area that the streets were not designed for it. So anyway, just an observation.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Mr. Emmons?
Yes, this writing's really small, but I'm assuming they're pinning new to old, correct?
Pardon?
They're pinning the new to old in this area? The new concrete to the old concrete? They're pinning?
Pinning?
After they remove the concrete, they put a pin in the old concrete that is now set in the new concrete, so that movement is reduced?
Yeah.
I got to admit, I didn't get that either.
They're
Non-engineered terms.
putting dowels in. They're doweling between the two.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the.
Thank you, Mr. Emmons. Mr. Klein?
But a good point. I
Yeah.
mentioned in the memo is that they'll be putting it in according to our standards as well as our joint standards, which covers the patches of a certain size. We want to make sure that they're all dialed into the existing concrete.
Gentlemen, any questions from Mr. Cloyd? Can I assume we're in communication with the HOA if there is one? I mean,
No, we can be, yes. But definitely what we do is we get the word out, through our access communications,
Yeah.
but.
I'd like to make a request.
Okay, I will do that.
Well, I can tell you this. You guys, engineering does a great job. Communicating, theoretically, is the one thing that we can do for free, but it's the hardest thing that we need to do. So I would appreciate it if we could somehow get a hold of the HOA and let them know that this was,
We'll do that.
I got
Definitely.
a number of people say, I didn't know you guys were redoing Main Street. And we're like, well, it's an ODOT project, and I think they kind of knocked on the door and told us we're getting ready to tear up your road. But if I lived there, I'd want to know ahead of time, so I would appreciate it if you guys could start to make that a best practice if we're going to do any overlays, to let them know early on.
Yes, sir, we do that.
Unless there's some reason not to do
In the
that.
past, I haven't made direct communications with the
Yeah.
HOA leadership, but we have the contractor go door to door, put knockers on, tell people we're getting ready to do certain things. We put things out. I put communications out through Katie. So we're doing some communication, but I'm always open to other ideas of how we can communicate more, because that's important.
Is it a standard practice for the contractor to always do the door-to-door knockers?
Yes. We
Do you
always
believe they
require
always
that.
do?
I have to take them at their word. I
Yeah,
don't-
okay.
And I've heard some people say I've not gotten that. but
Yeah.
Again, it's difficult because of environment we live in today.
Yeah.
People don't answer the front doors anymore. They don't
Sure,
want to. They're
yeah.
not- You know, when I grew up, it was, oh, boy, someone's here. Let's go see who's here. Now it's, oh, let's be quiet. Maybe they'll go away. You know, they don't go to the door.
Yeah.
So, anyway, it's hard to say, but I will definitely reach out to the HOA on these projects to make sure that they know this is coming.
Within reason, I think the council as a whole, we are always going to push you guys to do harder. You can never communicate well enough. We're accused of it, so that, you know, it all kind of rolls downhill. We can do better when it comes to letting our neighbors know that things are happening. So, but definitely appreciate that for sure. While you're here, may I, have had a couple questions. People are wanting to know, just ballpark, when is Main Street, the current Main Street ODOT project projected for completion, if you would?
It's scheduled to be completed July of 2024.
Okay. Okay. 6 months, 7,
7 to 8 months.
8 months.
That's scheduled, so we'll see what.
Scheduled.
Weather depending,
And,
all those good things.
and the other question, believe it or not, is the road is temporary, is it not?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, the road.
On the south side, that's a temporary road.
Yeah.
That will be taken away once they're done working on the north side of
Yeah.
Main Street. And then there'll be sidewalk and curb and gutter on that, where that bumpy road is now, like it was.
So we can hope that the grand opening of Main Street will hopefully coincide with the grand opening of a certain mall. Are we still projecting,
They're looking at August?
or after that? Okay.
August.
All right, sounds like hopefully we'll have that road open before then. Awesome, thank you, sir. Any last-minute questions for Mr. Cloyd?
Mr. Cloyd,
Mr. Brown.
what's the commencement date projected for this project? Through the holidays?
Probably be around that. We've got to get contracts signed and have pre-work meetings, so within, typically about 2 to 4 weeks, we take, and then, you know, the number of days is, once we have an NTP or a notice to proceed date, then those calendar days complete is what we hold them to.
So then we may have weather issues. 90 days shovel to stripes is the period of what they projected.
I believe so,
Do
yes,
they,
sir.
do we have provisions in the contract that allow for delays because of weather?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Thank you, Mr. Cloyd. If there's no further questions, we are on item number 3.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Thank you both. We have a proper motion and a second to approve item 3. Let's vote, please.
Emmons?
Yes.
OJ?
Yes.
Murray?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Klein?
Yes.
Chairbox?
Yes, thank you. Item 4 is the award of the Glenwood South pavement patching project to APAC Central out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. The total amount of $105,000 funding for this project to be paid from the fiscal year 23-24 budget, coming out of the 1 cent capital fund for street maintenance and pavement rehabilitation. We are on page 74. Mr. Cloyd.
Chair and members of the committee, the item before you is to repair some of the streets in the Glenwood South addition. This is the first of 2 or 3 phases of repairs that we want to do in this addition. This addition hasn't received much attention, street pavement-wise, in some time, and so it's in need of some repair. Engineering created this project to patch 8 areas on South Franklin Avenue, West 115th Place, and South Emerson Place. The plans, as I try to do on all of the items of this nature, I include the plans at the back of the item itself, so you can see the areas in particular. So in conformance with the bidding requirements, we advertised this project on September 1st of this year, opened bids on September 26th, and we had 3 bidders involved with this project. The apparent low bid was submitted by Glover & Associates, Inc. This company is formerly known as H&G Paving Contractors, LLC. Staff has worked with H&G Paving Contractors in the past and found that the quality of their work to be unacceptable. I've also included in your packet a contractor performance evaluation form for that company. Therefore, staff recommends rejecting that bid provided by Glover & Associates. The second low bid was submitted by Quality Concrete Works, LLC. However, that contractor did not submit the required bid affidavits with their bid documents, and based on the requirements within the bid documents, this bid must be rejected as well. Therefore, the last submitted bid came from APAC Central in the amount of $105,000 and an estimated calendar days to complete of 90 days. Staff has found that the references for APAC Central to be acceptable, and we request approval of the award of the Glenwood South Pavement Patching Project to APAC Central. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Cloyd. Mr. Klein, Mr. Murray, any questions? Item 4.
What are we looking at for the work dates on this? Is it similar to the other neighborhood or no?
Yes, it'll be similar. We'll reach out to them to get the documents signed and get everything in order, and then, so 2 to 4 weeks to do that, and then that 90 days will begin once we establish that notice to proceed date.
Thank you.
I don't think they have an HOA. They're pretty old, right? I don't think they have an HOA over there. Okay. Very
We'll
well.
look into it, though.
Yeah,
If they have it,
yeah.
we'll reach out to them.
Mr. Murray, anything? Mr. Emmons?
Yes, your engineering estimate was 58,000 and some change. What is that typically based off of versus, or to figure out why the difference in the actual cost and the estimate so different?
The main thing I can come up with is, based on previous bids that we have in, is kind of what we base that engineering estimate off of. So we just didn't have good numbers. As you're aware of, being in the construction industry, things go up pretty fast sometimes, and so this may be a situation where we're just not keeping up with the unit prices like we should.
Not a criticism at all, just curiosity.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Mr. Brown? Ready, Mrs. Ogier? All right, thank you all very much. We are still on item 4, if anyone would like to.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Thank you both very much. Motion and, or item 4, let's vote, please.
Emmons,
Yes.
Ogier,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Chairbox.
Yes, thank you. Item 5 is award of the Country Meadows, Gibson, and Pinecrest Milling Project to A&A Asphalt out of Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, in a total amount of $81,537.50. Funding coming out of the fiscal year 23-24 budget. Same account as before, the 1 cent capital fund for street maintenance and pavement rehabilitation. We're on page 90. Mr. Cloyd, last time.
Chair and members of the committee, in July of 2016, City of Jenks entered into an interlocal agreement with Tulsa County for improvement, construction, and/or repair of existing streets in the City of Jenks. So under the terms of this agreement, the city provides all the necessary materials and traffic controls. The county provides the necessary labor and equipment to complete the project. And what we see with this is about a 40% cost savings on what would have happened. Practically what happens is Tulsa County comes in, they give us their labor, use of their equipment, and then we just pay for the asphalt that they put down. So that saves us quite a bit over what we would be charged from a contractor, a third-party contractor. Phase 1 of this interlocal agreement was completed in January of 2021. All the roads of Melody Lane additions 1, 2, and 3 were completed under that phase. And phase 2 was completed in 2022. The remaining streets of Melody Lane South Addition, Country Lake Estates Addition, and Union Avenue from 91st to 96th Street were resurfaced for that. This is phase 3 that is on tonight's agenda, and it includes the streets of Country Meadows, Gibson, and Pinecrest Addition. Councilor Murray, you've asked me quite a few times about 140th Place. We're finally getting it taken care of. With this, again, as a reminder, what this project does is we have a private contractor come in because the city doesn't have milling equipment, Tulsa County doesn't have milling equipment, so we have to contract that out by a third-party contractor. So they'll come in, they'll mill the streets down 2 inches so that we can have a consistent surface for drainage, surface drainage, and so that the water gets off the streets into the curb and gutters and into the inlets and storm sewer system. We then lay another 2 inches back on top of that milled surface so we get back to that original surface that we had before. So we'll have a private contractor come in, do the milling, and then Tulsa County will come in after them and lay the new asphalt over that milled surface. So we advertised for the milling work on this project in October 10th of this year. Bids were opened on the 31st of October, and the only bid submitted, it seems like over the night, we're getting fewer and fewer bidders on our projects. I don't know why that is, but the only bid submitted in this case was A&A Asphalt, Inc., in the amount of $81,537.50. I didn't put the days to complete on there because they're going to be coordinating with Tulsa County. Right now, Tulsa County is scheduled to do the Phase 3 of our streets, Phase 3 of the interlocal agreement, November 27th. That may have shifted some because they're currently working on 3 of the borderline streets on the south part of Jenks, border between Glenpool and Jenks. And they've had already a 1-week delay in the weather on trying to get that done. It was supposed to take 2 weeks. Now we're on the 3rd week, and they've got, I think, 1 more mile to go to get those 3 streets resurfaced. So we may have a little slippage on that, but it's going to be dependent, when A&A does their milling is going to be dependent on when Tulsa County is ready to do their overlay of these streets. So therefore, staff requests award of the milling of Country Meadows, Gibson, and Pinecrest to A&A Asphalt. Are there any questions on this project?
Thank you, Mr. Cloyd. Mr. Murray, any questions? Item 5.
No, I have gotten a lot of text from it, and you have shared the information back, and the resident is very appreciative, and so this is definitely something that has been building up, and so we're glad to get this point to it. So if nobody other has questions, I will make a motion we approve.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion is second. Any debate? Questions? Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve item 5. Vote, please.
Emmons.
Yes.
Ogier.
Yes.
Murray.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Chairbox.
Yes, thank you very much. Mr. Shroud, anything left on your general manager's report?
No, sir.
All right, very well. The time is 8.
Mr. Mayor, if I
Yes,
may,
sir.
point of order, just information I should have made in City Council. There is a 3-day car seat training at the fire station going on. I don't know who all's participating in it, but on Thursday, we do have a car seat check there. And recently, State Farm Insurance donated $15,000, I think it was, to Safe Kids, and so we had a good representation there, and I've got some pictures from the chamber, and shared that with Katie, and so it was just a very good deal that we had, and so getting that publicity out for the city and for everything, and appreciate all that they're doing.
And thank you to Mr. Brent Hager. Brent Hager.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, good call. All right. Anything else from council? Last call. Okay, it's 8:10 PM. We are adjourned. Have a good evening.